Mahiga ma mĩthemba yothe turakwenderia na bei bacĩrĩre mũno tukimenyagĩrĩra mũhuko waku. Tuhũrĩre namba ya thimũ ya 0727 708 314. Tũgũbange ũrĩkie mwaka waku wĩ mũkenu.
No mwiroreri wa Fuma TV thengio muno ni undu wa gwitikira gucagura station ya Fuma TV egatuika kirathimo hari we ni jitagwo Lea Wanjiko Wanjunge. Karibu sana thini wa mohoro maitu nigetha tuthi na mbere gukumenyithia maundu maria matinda makihanika guku bururi-ini na nigetha nawe ukorwo umirite utheri-ini na nigetha umenye niki kirathie na mbere. Ungenda guturumirira itikira ku like page itu mwena-ini wa Facebook page kuria twitaga Fuma TV ni kirathimo. Iyo ni official page itu mwena-ini ucio wa Facebook. Like, comment, share kana ugakona mohoro ma hinahi itikira gutuhurira namba iri hau maguru-ini ma screen ya 0733288161 kana wandike message hau nituguthoma ndumiriri yaku. Na tukiambiriria ni ati muthenya wa umuthi niguo guguthomagwo budget kana finance bill ya 2024 na 2025 ira iguthomagirwo bunge-ini muthenya wa umuthi ni CS wa finance Njuguna Ndung'u. Budget area yuma ya trilioni 4 na no kuma na mbitika na maundu magithire na mbere hau nja ya bunge riria a Kenya amwe magukigeragia gukiyumiria na kugeria kurehe sign cia kuonania he maundu mataramakenia hihi kana kwi maundu maria marakimakenia. Mwandiki witu wa mohoro niwe Faith wa Wambugu wewe ina report ino makiria.
The convoy rather of led by the Treasury presentation indication
His Excellency Dr. William Samoei Ruto, the President of the Republic of Kenya and the Commander-in-Chief of the Defense Forces. This budget reaffirms the priority policies and strategies for achieving the bottom-up economic transformation agenda that is progressively improving the livelihoods of Kenyans. This statement is presented in the fulfillment of the requirements of Standing Order number 241 of the National Assembly and Section 40 of the Public Finance Management Act 2012 that requires that the Cabinet Secretary for the National Treasury to make a public pronouncement of the budget policy highlights and the revenue-raising measures for the national government. Mr. Speaker, since 2020, our economy has been unwinding from the effects of negative and even persistent global and domestic shocks that have pushed the economy to its lowest activity level. These shocks include the COVID-19 pandemic, second, the global supply chain disruptions, third, the effects of climate change from prolonged drought in 2021 and 2022, and even the floods of 2023-2024. And measures to mitigate these negative shocks embarked on structural reforms under the bottom-up economic transformation have been successful in ameliorating these effects. The efforts have reduced the cost of living and created vibrancy in the economy that has shown signs of strong economic recovery. Mr. Speaker, in several regions, Kenya has sunk into abject poverty, largely because markets in their segments were interfered with or not properly governed. The proposed resource allocation as well as revenue-raising measures that the government will implement in the financial year 2024-2025 budget are going to be summarized. But, Mr. Speaker, we have to remember that we have one major problem that has three phases. This problem is as follows. There is increased demands for increased spending or expenditures from the government. That means that either we have to finance that through taxes or debt. The second dimension of this problem is that there is limitation and even constraints imposed in terms of public debt accumulation and even the debt carrying capacity of the economy. Third, and more fundamentally, there are limitations in terms of mobilizing higher tax revenues, something that we have to remember, something that is quite critical from our side. Let me turn now to the economic policy context. Mr. Speaker, the financial year 2024-2025 budget has been developed against a backdrop of improved global economic outlook. The world economy stood at 3.2% in terms of growth in 2023 and is projected to continue at the same pace in 2024. In the domestic economy, in order to enhance monetary policy transmission, the Central Bank of Kenya has adopted a new monetary policy implementation framework, and this is based on inflation targeting and introduces an interest rate corridor around the central bank rate. The interbank rate is expected to be within this corridor. In addition, the Central Bank of Kenya launched the DAO CSD, a central securities depository infrastructure that delivers world-class level of registry, custodial, and even settlement services for both primary and secondary market operations. Mr. Speaker, I wish to encourage Kenyans and investors to take advantage of the DAO CSD to invest in risk-free treasury bills and bonds in order to grow their wealth and secure their financial future. We have simplified the DAO CSD, and investors can simply use the USSD *866# to log in and invest a retail board for amounts as low as 600 shillings. This also will be allowed to make investments of government securities all inclusive and include the bottom of the pyramid. Mr. Speaker, the strong economic fundamentals together with the renewed investor confidence is a signal for accelerated, broad economic growth and creation of jobs for our youth. In 2023, the total new jobs generated in the economy increased from 848,200 jobs compared to 816,600 new jobs generated in 2022. And this is attributable to policies implemented, especially when you focus on affordable housing and the agricultural sector interventions. Looking ahead, Mr. Speaker, and considering the ongoing reforms and even additional measures the government is introducing through the budget statement, we project our economy to grow at 5.5% in 2024 and 2025. This strong growth will be supported by ongoing interventions at the bottom-up economic transformation agenda. In this regard, the government will accelerate investment in human capital development and capital accumulation, in market development, protection and regulation, in domestic resource mobilization, in reforming and restructuring government institutions, and finally, and more important, digitization to usher an era of efficiency in economic management to support economic recovery. Mr. Speaker, in order to safeguard macroeconomic stability and protect the fragile economic recovery, monetary and fiscal policies will remain very prudent. The Central Bank of Kenya will ensure inflation rate remains within target while maintaining a competitive exchange rate and stable interest rates. The Central Bank is further expected to safeguard the improvements in the functioning of the interbank foreign exchange market and apply all its instruments to strengthen the monetary policy transmission mechanism. On the other hand, Mr. Speaker, fiscal policy stance over the medium term aims at supporting the government's bottom-up economic transformation agenda by delivering a strong fiscal consolidation with fiscal deficit declining from 3.3% of GDP in financial year 2024-2025 from a high of 5.7% of GDP in financial year 2023-2024. This will improve the primary surplus to 2.3% of GDP in the financial year 2023-2025 from a primary deficit of 0.4% in the previous year. I will later in this statement elaborate to honorable members of this august House and the people of Kenya the second budget of the Kenya Kwanza administration under the leadership of His Excellency Dr. William Samoei Ruto, the President of the Republic of Kenya and the Commander-in-Chief of the Defense Forces. This budget reaffirms the priority policies and strategies for achieving the bottom-up economic transformation agenda that is progressively improving the livelihoods of Kenyans. This statement is presented in the fulfillment of the requirements of Standing Order number 241 of the National Assembly and Section 40 of the Public Finance Management Act 2012 that requires that the Cabinet Secretary for the National Treasury to make a public pronouncement of the budget policy highlights and the revenue-raising measures for the national government. Mr. Speaker, since 2020, our economy has been unwinding from the effects of negative and even persistent global and domestic shocks that have pushed the economy to its lowest activity level. These shocks include the COVID-19 pandemic, second, the global supply chain disruptions, third, the effects of climate change from prolonged drought in 2021 and 2022, and even the floods of 2023-2024. And measures to mitigate these negative shocks embarked on structural reforms at the bottom of economic transformation have been successful in ameliorating these effects. The efforts have reduced the cost of living and created vibrancy in the economy that has shown signs of strong economic recovery. Mr. Speaker, in several regions, Kenya has sunk into abject poverty, largely because markets in their segments were interfered with or not properly governed. The failure to protect and regulate markets disrupted their development and, more importantly, curtailed further investment in those sectors such as coffee, sugar, cotton, pyrethrum. The institutional failure problem pushed policy to fail. In this context, the bottom-up economic transformation agenda interventions at the bottom of the pyramid are targeted to ensure that the markets are properly governed to work for everybody, and especially the poor. Mr. Speaker, for Kenya to transition from the middle-income status of the economy to an upper middle-income status as envisioned in the Kenya Vision 2030, two driving factors are important. That is, we must develop our human capital capability, and we have to increase production and productivity. Mr. Speaker, the Kenyan economy is susceptible to the ravaging impact of climate change, as demonstrated in the 2021-22 severest drought, which was more severe, which we haven't seen in the last 40 years, and the events of floods that have led to massive loss of property and life. The most important thing is that these shocks have shifted budgetary resources from economic activity to saving lives and rebuilding damaged infrastructure. And this calls for urgent and decisive interventions, especially to our supply side, which I will later address in this statement. Mr. Speaker, our fiscal policy is geared towards supporting bottom-up economic transformation agenda through continued implementation of a fiscal consolidation plan designed towards slowing down the growth of public debt without compromising economic growth. The fiscal consolidation efforts will continue to target domestic revenue mobilization and rationalization of spending through improved public financial management while reallocating resources in priority areas. Mr. Speaker, in order to move towards a balanced budget and further improve efficiency in public spending, the following bold actions and reforms have been outlined in the financial year 2024-2025. First, rationalization of transfers to SAGAs by at least 30% from the financial year 2023-2024 approved budget, in line with the overall austerity measures cutting across all ministries, departments, and agencies. Second, curtailing spending on the following expenditure items: foreign travels, rationalization of all training expenses across government, and restricting all training to within government institutions, rationalizing all allocations for purchases of motor vehicles, and suspending purchases of furniture for a period of 1 year, and suspending all refurbishment and partitioning of
Fuma Tv uguo niguo gukihana muthenya wa umuthi thiini wa bunge kuria gugithomagwo bill ya 2024-2025 ni CS Njuguna Ndung'u. Na tugithie na mbere ni ati ahuri a biashara kuma mwena wa Busia ni moritie abunge aria maretikira kana aria macagurire mamarutagira wira metikire gukorwo makirora budget kana bill iria githomirwo muthenya wa umuthi makiuga ati ni ya kuhinyiriria a Kenya muno makiria andu aria matari na hinya kana andu aria matakiri a kirathi kiiguru. Mwandiki witũ wa mohoro Faith wa Wabugu no rina riboti ino makiria.
Kika kulingana na makadirio ya national government imetutengenezea hapa nchini Kenya, mimi kama mwananchi wa chini siwezi. Kwa hivyo tunaomba wabunge wetu, ikiwa mlienda kufanyia wananchi kazi, hiyo makadirio mfutilie mbali. Kwa sababu mwananchi wa chini hawezi epuka haya makadirio ambayo mmetutengenezea. Sukari imepanda, uto imepanda, unga imepanda, transport imepanda, mafuta imepanda. Nyinyi mnataka sisi wananchi wa chini tuende wapi? Chakula yote imepanda, pesa hakuna. Hiyo taxi ndio inaendeleanga tu kupanda kila wakati. Sisi tumekataa hayo makadirio ambayo yalitolewa na national government.
Kwa mfano saa hii mboga inatoka Nairobi kikuja Busia. Mboga ni 3,500, gunia ya kilo 50. Kila majukumu iko kwa hiyo gunia. Kila majukumu iko kwa hiyo gunia ndogo hiyo. Ushuru iko juu. Hata hapo watuhurumi. Kwanza watu wa ushuru wa hii soko posta hawatuhurumi, wanatangulianga kwa mama mboga, laini ya mama mboga, na bado mnapandisha ushuru. Sisi wananchi wa chini mnafikiria nini mkiwa huko juu?
Budget sasa sukari imeenda juu. Mboga zimeenda juu. Kibiriti iko juu, unga iko juu. Sasa na mahindi ndio hiyo imekata kushuka bei, na hata kupata mahindi kwa shilingi 80 utashagia nini? Kishagu peke yake shilingi 1 na simu, na hauna hiyo utatafuta wapi? Kila kitu inaenda juu. Kaeni chini muangalie bei mnasaidia si wananchi. Wananchi tunaumia.
Sisi kama wafanyikazi wa bodaboda, maombi yetu ni kwamba wakati wa mswada unafika katika bunge, kuna baadhi ya vitu ambazo zinatufinya sisi kama wananchi wa chini. Kwa mfano tu, sisi ni wananchi wa chini ambao tunatumia mafuta, tunanunua kidogo kidogo, mafuta imepanda. Kuna maneno ya tulikuwa tunaangalia mpaka bei ya unga wa chapati imepanda. Mpaka juzi nilikuwa naangalia tunaambiwa ya kwamba ile mandazi tulikuwa tunanunua shilingi 15, tutaanza kuinua shilingi 30. So mpaka imefika wakati kama sisi Waluya tumeamua ukikula jioni upike ugali, ibaki utakunywa nayo chai asubuhi. Na kwa hakika hiyo haikuwa agenda ya Mheshimiwa Rais wakati alikuwa anatafuta kura. Bottom up transformative agenda ilikuwa ni kuinua mwananchi wa chini ambayo ni sisi kama watu wa bodaboda na mboga. Maombi yangu ni kwa assembly yetu ya national ya kwamba wakati wa mswada unakuja bungeni mupigieni kura kulingana na venye maoni ya wananchi inasema. Kama sisi tunasema ya kwamba imetufinya na sisi ndio tuliwapa kura, muhakikishe ya kwamba mumewakilisha maoni na mnajali mwananchi wa kawaida.
Sisi tumewekeza katika mapikipiki. Tulikuwa tunaomba Mheshimiwa Rais, wakati ulikuwa unaomba kura, vitu mbili uliongelea sana kuhusu mama mboga na wanabodaboda. Lakini tangu chukua ushukani sisi
nake gavana wa Kiambu niwe Kimani wa Matangi niahete mukana atongoria akimera ati matige gukorwo makiaririria siasa ciegi one man one vote one shillings akiuga ati ti njega na ni iratuma andu kana atongoria makorwo mategukorwo mari kindu kimwe. Mwandiki witu wa mohoro niwe Atha Mwaura, niwe wina riboti ino makiria. Ripoti hiyo igie gavana wa Kiambu Kimani wa Matangi niyo tukwamba gwikiria nayo twambe tugurirwo ndumiriri cigano na cia wonjoria tucoke nituracokereria na nigetha tuthie na mbere na mohoro maitu.
wĩna mwako kana nĩ ũreciria gwaka, ndũgatangĩke nĩ material cia gwaka nĩ tondũ nĩ tũrakũrũmbũiya na material ta kagoto, mũthanga, mahiga ma mĩthemba yothe. Tũrakwenderia na bei bacĩrĩre mũno mũno, tũkĩmenyagĩrĩra mũhuko waku. Tũhũrĩre namba ya thimũ ya 0727 708 314. Tũgũbange ũrĩkie mwako waku wĩ mũkenu. Ewe hau na nĩ ũrenda ploti thaka na njega takĩ kũrĩa mwena wa Maĩ Mahiũ. Twĩna ploti ci handũ hega mũno Maĩ Mahiũ Nyakenyua stage-inĩ ya reri hakuhĩ na dry port, na nĩ ploti 4 hamwe na nyũmba ya ihiga ya 2 bedrooms. Tũrakwenderia na bei bacĩrĩre mũno. Aranĩria na Joseph na namba ĩno 0790878756 kana 0755746122.
Mwega eroriria Fuma Tv ndagwo masigitao na ndagwo princess kinyozi tudinaga na kwezado na tuka massage, full body massage, manicure, pedicure, hair dyes na facial scrubs. Twe next to Alpha Medical Center na twezaga andu matumbaga thundo twameza na nĩ tũtiritaga thundo icio andũ arĩa mena thundo. Macini tũkoragwo na variety cia macini, nĩ kũrĩ cia Jordan, nĩ kũrĩ cia Styles. Rĩu twĩna macini nyingĩ cia kũruta wĩra ũcio. O mũndũ wĩna thundo nĩ oke twin scissors na thundo icio nĩ cio gũthira. We do treat them na cigathira, tũmatiritaga na cigathira. Yes. Bei nĩ bacĩrĩre, o na ciana nĩ tũcibacagĩra tondũ nĩ kũrĩ ciana ciĩna magata, nĩ kũrĩ ciana ciumaga mathundo, nĩ tũtiritaga na ikahona. Yes. Tũkoragwo mwena wa Muroti, tutiriganĩtie na thibitarĩ ĩtagwo Alpha. Tũhingũraga 7. Mwĩrori wa Fuma TV, ũkorwo wĩna any event, birthdays, kana occasion o yothe, maũhiki, rũracio, nĩ twĩkaga maũndũ macio mothe na tũgoka twagũthondeka na event ya kũiganĩra. Namba yakwa ya thimũ nĩ 071 136 051. Rĩngĩ cokera 071 136 051. Thank you muno mwiroreri wa Fuma TV. Icio nĩ advert iria ikĩrũgamĩrĩire metha ya mohoro na nĩgetha tũkahota gũkorwo tũgĩthiĩ na mbere gũkũmemerekeria gũkũ thĩinĩ wa station ya Fuma TV. Ũngĩkorwo wĩ hau hihi na wĩna biacara yaku na no wende mũrĩkwo, ĩtĩkĩra gũtũhe advert, ĩtĩkĩra kwaranĩria na Fuma TV kũgerera harĩ namba ĩyo ĩrĩ magũrũ-inĩ ma screen, na nĩgetha na ithuĩ tũgũteithĩrĩrie tũgũka nginya harĩa biacara yaku ĩrĩ, tũgũre products ciaku kana indo icio ũrendia, na nĩgetha tũgũthondekere kĩmenyithia tũgwĩkĩrĩre TV-inĩ na nĩgetha ũhote gũkorwo ũkĩmũrĩkithia biacara yaku, tondũ kĩndũ kĩmũrĩkithia kana kĩndũ kĩronwo nĩ andũ aingĩ nĩ kĩhotaga gũkorwo gĩkĩendeka, na koguo rĩngĩ no twende mũno ona we ũhote gũkorwo ũkĩendia kĩu ũrendia na njĩra ĩrĩa yagĩrĩire, na nĩgetha biacara yaku ĩhote gũkorwo ĩgĩtherema. Na koguo ũngĩenda kwaranĩria na ithuĩ namba nĩyo, ĩtĩkĩra gũtũhũrĩra thimũ na nĩgetha na ithuĩ tũtuĩke a gũgũteithĩrĩria. Na tũgĩthiĩ na mbere nĩ atĩ Mithika Linturi ũrĩa nĩ CS wa agriculture kana ũrĩmi nĩ oigĩte atĩ nĩ ekũingĩrĩra mbara ya mũgũka ĩrĩa ĩkoretwo ĩgĩthiĩ na mbere, akoiga atĩ nĩ egũkorwo akĩgiria ĩkorwo ĩkĩninwo, akiuga atĩ mũgũka nĩ ũĩkaine gũkũ bũrũri-inĩ mĩaka yothe wĩta cash crop gũkũ bũrũri-inĩ, na koguo nĩ egwĩta kamĩtĩ ĩrĩa megũikara thĩ na nĩgetha matuĩke a kwarĩrĩria mũgũka ũcio nĩgetha ũgathĩkĩrwo watho wa gũkorwo ndũrĩendagĩrio ciana nini. Mwandĩki witũ wa mohoro nĩwe Paul Wachira, nĩwe wĩna riboti ĩno makĩria.
It's a scheduled crop and we will not run away from that position because it's a position of law. We now intend to mobilize the people, to sensitize people to now be able to implement the crops regulations of 2023, which are provided for what area to sell, what time, right? And I am by today, probably by end of week, I'll be gazetting the Mogoka and the Mira pricing committee, because the issue of the problem people are talking about the pricing because it's cheap and is being accessed by many children. I want now to have a committee as provided in the regulations for them to be able to sit down and be able to give guidelines on how Mogoka will be sold or in terms of pricing, so that that problem is sorted out. So we are on course. We have involved all the lenders. We are also looking for those other governors from Kwale, from Mombasa, Tana River, so that we can also have a discussion, because when they understood I was unwell, they did not get into the meeting. So this is my first appearance since last week. So you remain cool. Yeah, everything else is under control. I'm sure we are going to sort it out. And at least now, other than the very unreasonable levies being imposed on Mogoka by the various county.
Thank you muno mwiroreri wa Fuma TV. Riboti yo igi Mithika Linturi CS wa Agriculture. Nä tũkũhinga nayo mohoro maitũ ma Fuma TV na ngĩhoka nĩ ndagũtwarithia o wega kĩũria ũngĩkorwo nakĩo thimũ itũ ndĩagaga thĩinĩ wa screen. Tũkwendete mũno tũkĩenda gũtwarana hamwe nawe na nĩgetha tũgatigĩrĩra nĩ twagũteithĩrĩria ũrĩa ũngĩhota gũtũnyita. Ũngĩenda gũtũcerera wabici-inĩ itũ tũkoragwo kaunti-inĩ ya Kiambu kũndũ gwĩtagwo Ndeia Thigio. Wĩ karibu sana mũthenya o wothe ũngĩenda gũtũcerera. Tũkoragwo kuo 24/7 no mathaa ma wabici-inĩ thaa 1:30 thaa 3:30 sorry gũthiĩ nginya thaa 11 ũtũcerere mathaa-inĩ macio na nĩgetha tũtuĩke a kwaranĩria hamwe nawe. Nĩ tũrenda interns kana mũndũ ũrenda gũka gũthoma etĩkĩre kwaranĩria hamwe na ithuĩ na nĩgetha nake tũmũteithĩrĩrie amenye ũhoro wĩgiĩ media kana mass communication eke maũndũ macio no korwo nĩ athomete okorwo rĩngĩ ndagĩthomete nĩ twĩkaga attachment kana nĩ tũbundithagia andũ na koguo wĩ karibu sana. Ũngĩkorwo nĩ mũciari hau na no wende kwaranĩria hamwe na ithuĩ ĩtĩkĩra gũtũhũrĩra thimũ ĩyo ĩrĩ hau magũrũ-inĩ ma screen na nĩgetha twaranĩrie nawe nĩgetha tũkwĩre indo iria cikoragwo ikĩendeka kana ũrĩa ũbatiĩ gũkorwo ũgĩka nĩgetha tũhote kũnyitanĩra. Niĩ njĩtagwo Lea Wanjikũ Wanjung'e, thengiũ mũno nĩ kũnyitanĩra hamwe nani thĩinĩ wa mohoro maitũ. Ngĩhoka nĩ gũthiĩ na mbere gũikara mĩtambo-inĩ na nĩgetha ũthiĩ na mbere kwĩrorera tabarĩra itiganĩte station-inĩ ya Fuma TV kũrĩa tũkwĩraga nĩ kĩrathimo. Kwĩna maũndũ maingĩ mega maroka, nĩ tũgũcemania nawe mathaa-inĩ macio mangĩ thĩinĩ wa tabarĩra ingĩ na thĩinĩ wa mohoro macio mangĩ ma thaa 3. Wĩtĩkĩre gũikara mĩtambo-inĩ rũmanĩra hamwe na ithuĩ nginya mwena-inĩ wa Facebook page kũrĩa twĩtaga Fuma TV nĩ kĩrathimo. Ĩtĩkĩra kũ like page yo, comment, share na nĩgetha ũkahotaga hingo ciothe gũkorwo wĩ rada ya nĩkĩ kũrathiĩ na mbere thĩinĩ wa station ya Fuma TV. Nĩ ngatho.